From the heart of the capital in Zimbabwe, you are tuned in to ZiFM Stereo, my station, your station. Welcome to the Africa Tech Kin. My name is Danny That Guy. I'm your host and your weekly guide through the complicated world of technology. I'm here to simplify it for you and to let you know what's next in the world of technology, investment, and potential opportunities, not only in Zimbabwe, but even beyond to the whole world. Coming up on the show today, well, we're connecting the dots on connectivity. Some of the work that POTRAZ and the Ministry of ICT have been doing to boost our network signal to parts of the country that don't traditionally have access. Is it reaching you? Is it reaching your loved ones? We'll be examining that as well. We're also going to talk about the thousands of new technology graduates that hit the streets as of this past week. We're going to talk a little bit about whether they're ready for the market or is the market ready for them. Stick around as we talk about that. We're also going to take a look at what our neighbors in South Africa are doing. They're introducing some interesting technology in some of their government departments, including the issuing and the following up of visas on arrival in the country. We're also going to unbox the hype around the new Apple launch that happened last week, the new iPhone 17 and the related models, as well as the different tech that they launched. We're going to answer some questions about that one too. And then finally, we're going to expose a scary new AI scam that is taking the world by storm. We've had multiple reports from all around the world, including here in Zimbabwe, of people who have been scammed using AI technology. So stick around because we're going to talk more about that. This is the Africa Tech Kin on ZiFM Stereo every week, where we take a look at the biggest technology stories that affect us here in Zimbabwe, and especially looking out into the world as well. There's a lot to talk about. Stick around, be part of the show. You can get in touch via WhatsApp. That's 0772 168 045. Make sure you save it as your ZiFM Stereo number, and you can send a WhatsApp straight into the studio, or you can be part of the conversation on social media. The hashtag is Africa Tech Kin, where we talk about these stories. You can send in your thoughts, your opinions, your disagreements and agreements via your favorite social media platform of choice. The hashtag, once again, Africa Tech Kin. All right, shall we get straight into it? Let's talk about our first story, the foundation of all modern technology, and ultimately, that's connectivity. There's a couple of stories to mention around the idea of connectivity. So first of all, let's talk about POTRAZ. That's the Postal and Telecommunications Regulatory Authority of Zimbabwe, the regulator about most of the technology that we see in the country. Well, one of the things that they've been working on is something called the POTRAZ Tower Relocation Project. And this week we got some news coming through from POTRAZ in one of the regular newspapers out there about the progress of this project. And I thought it was something very interesting that we should discuss. So let me give you an overview of what this project is. So the Tower Relocation Project, it's an evolution of POTRAZ's long-term goal to bring universal telecommunication access in Zimbabwe. So the idea is to make sure that there's areas within the country that have been underserved over a period of time because of the lack of towers, telecommunications towers in those areas. Well, POTRAZ was going to use some of the money that was in the Universal Services Fund to be able to relocate some towers that are already existing from more overserved areas into the underserved areas. So in the past year, this program has really intensified, and we've seen just this month announcement that over 40 base stations have now been successfully moved, and some of them have been commissioned countrywide, including in some of these underserved areas. Now, this is important because there's no point in us talking about technology and connectivity if we're not talking about most, if not all, of the people in the country. Well, the goal is that those even in rural areas, more remote areas, smaller towns, villages will have access to the internet. And that's through the relocation of these towers. So it's good to see that there's some progress being made, that the money from the Universal Services Fund is being used in this way. And we are seeing 40 have already successfully been relocated, according to the news story that came out this week. But continuing the story on the idea of providing connectivity to people in some of these underserved areas, POTRAZ was in Mawabeni for the launch of the latest Community Information Center, or as they've now been rebranded, digital centers. So here's the story, in case you're wondering what we're talking about. Earlier this month, the Mawabeni Digital Center in Umzingwane district in Matabeleland South was launched. It was officiated by the Minister of ICT, Postal and Career Services herself, Honorable Tatenda Mavetera. And there were several things that were discussed about the idea of making sure that everyone in the country has access. Just to give you a little bit of a reminder, in case you haven't been paying attention to every show, the idea of community information centers, now rebranded to digital centers, is part of what the government is doing to bridge the digital divide in the country. And the idea is in many of these marginalized, underserved areas within the country, the government, through POTRAZ and the use of the Universal Services Fund, was going to set up digital centers, which essentially work as walk-in centers where any members of the public can go in and access computers, high-speed internet, basically new technology, which they might not have been able to do. As you can imagine, probably in many rural areas, they don't have computers in their homes. They don't have access to high-speed internet in their homes. So the idea is to place a digital center in each of the various constituencies around the country so that they can then be used as a central point to push technology in these areas. A great idea. And it's good to see that it's being implemented and there's these different locations that this is coming to. Well, at the launch of this Mawabeni Center, there were several things discussed, including something that I thought was interesting. Now, in many parts of the world, a lot of people buy their phones or smartphones on credit. Well, it looks like Zimpost is launching a smartphone scheme. The headline is for as little as $5 per week, you can have access to a smartphone. We're going to see the rollout of this particular initiative, and it will probably require an initial deposit. It will probably require certain levels of assurances that you're able to access and cater to the credit that you'll be taking. But this is probably a great way for many people in some of these underserved areas to get access to some of this digital technology. So think about it. The towers have been relocated to some of the underserved areas, and we have seen these towers commissioned. By the way, all the telecommunications companies, that's Econet, Net1, and Telecel, have been involved in the relocation of these towers. They are digital centers, or what used to be called community information centers, that are opening up in some of the more rural and remote parts of the country so that everyone there can have access. And then finally, through Zimpost, there may be potential opportunities for some of these devices, smartphones, to be able to access the internet. So some good steps to make sure that people, even in the most underserved areas of the country, have access to the movement of technology. In my opinion, there's still a long way to go. We're moving, but slowly. And of course, technology is moving at a very rapid pace. But it's good to see that there's some movement. And I would love to hear from you. Are your relatives perhaps who are living in the rural areas? Or if yourself, you're living in some of these more remote areas, have you found it easy to access technology, the internet, smartphones? Let us know. The hashtag, once again, is the Africa Tech Kin. The number is 0772-168-045. Let's talk about our next generation of tech innovators, the young people who will be implementing all these huge technology goals that we have as a country. This past week, we saw huge graduations happening from some of the different institutions. We had 640 graduates from the Harare Institute of Technology. We had 4,588 from Harare Polytechnic, all of these entering the job market. In addition, we had a total of 54 students who were coming through from the southern cohort of the Presidential Digital Ambassador Program. These were all stories that dropped this week about new entries into the job market, into the market as a whole, of people who have graduated from these institutes of technology. Fantastic news. We've got fresh young minds ready to bring on technology and move it forward within the country. Now, are they adequately equipped? This is a question that probably many employers around the world will only be able to answer as we start bringing these new graduates into our organization. Are the universities teaching the skills that are needed right now? Things like AI development, cybersecurity, cloud computing, or perhaps the curriculum is lagging a little bit behind and we're still in the realm of things like computer science. I think a deep dive is needed. I will be very interested in doing one similarly on this show. So we'll probably be looking at the different universities and the curriculums that are being offered, or curricula that are being offered. We really want to check if the students are being adequately equipped for the current job market. Just a quick estimation of some of the in-demand skills that are needed. Globally, obviously, AI and machine learning is the biggest one at the moment. But what about data science, cybersecurity, cloud computing, software development, especially for mobile phones? Locally, high demand for fintech. As we know, that's a big issue here in the country. Things like integrating payment gateways, mobile money integration, and so on. What about agri-tech? Another huge one that's needed here in the country. So it'll be very interesting to see if these new graduates are equipped with some of these skills that are needed right now. Would love to hear your thoughts on that. The second question, not only asking if these graduates are equipped, but once they're in the job market, are the opportunities there? Now that the talent has been produced, they have been trained, are there jobs, specifically within the tech market? What is the landscape like in general in the job market here in Zimbabwe for people who are graduating from these institutes of technology? It's very interesting to see the discussion around this. And it's possible that we are looking at either one, getting a job, a steady job at a company, because you're now going to be able to use the tools that you've got to work for a company, or alternatively, to create a startup, to be the one that creates that company that moves us forward in the realm of tech. Is the environment good for Zimbabwean startups? All questions that we won't answer in this particular show, but I can assure you that in the upcoming shows, we're going to be delving deep to understand what the situation is. So it's great. We've got thousands of new technology graduates on the market. Do they have the skills? Do they have the opportunities? I want to hear your thoughts. If you are a recent graduate, or perhaps one of your family members is one of these recent graduates, I would love to hear from you. Or if you own a company or you work in a company, is there room for these new graduates from these institutes of technology and the polytechnics that are around in the country? Also, what has been your experience with those who have graduated, for example, from the Harare Institute of Technology or from Harare Polytechnic? Do they have the skills that you're looking for? In coming shows, we'll be talking to some of these educators and we'll be able to answer some of these questions a little bit more. Really, your feedback on this show could be shaping the future of education here in Zimbabwe. So please get in touch, 0772-168-045 on WhatsApp, or you can get in touch via the social media platforms. That's Africa Tech Kin. All right, shall we take a quick break? This is the Africa Tech Kin here on ZiFM Stereo. My name is Danny That Guy. When we come back, we got some regional and international tech news to talk about. And don't forget, I mentioned a scam that is currently bedeviling the globe, and that's born out of AI. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back, right here on ZiFM Stereo. Welcome back to the Africa Tech Kin, your premier technology show hosted exclusively here on ZiFM Stereo. I'm your host, Danny That Guy, your guide through the complicated jungle that is technology. Together, we'll be able to decipher what is going on in the world of technology. Shan't we? Shall we talk a little bit about some of the regional technology news that came out this week? Let's zoom out to our neighbors here in South Africa. They've introduced a very interesting solution to a problem that probably affects many of us who travel, and that's their introduction of what they're calling the ETA system, or the Electronic Travel Authorization System. So this is a major technological overhaul of their border and visa processes. This is something that was announced over a year ago, and they've been obviously taking a phased approach. So we're expecting that this month, the full integration of this new system at the South African border is going to be incorporated. The idea is that they're going to be using e-visas, and they're primarily targeting, as a start, visa-exempt countries and only certain ones. So the idea is, if you're coming from one of these countries, that's countries from the EU, the USA, Australia, New Zealand, then what you will do is when you land, you don't interact with any people. You go straight to any of these ETA terminals, scan your passport, and you are automatically issued a visa on arrival. The South African government says that it's using AI tools to be able to process these applications and the travel applications. And there is a testing period that we're going to expect to see if things are going well or they're not going well. But seeing that being implemented really made me think that, you know what? It's really time we start moving forward. If you've traveled recently yourself, you may have come across other countries where they're using a lot of these automated tools. Here in Zimbabwe's very own airport, there are some automated tools being put in place. So it's good to see that Zimbabwe is also in the realm of some of these travel authorization tools. But there's still plenty of room for us to go. So we're going to be paying attention to what's coming out of South Africa here. It's going to be very interesting to see how the system is integrated as it launches this month. And we'll also be paying attention to what Zimbabwe does to move forward as well in this space. Let's talk a little bit about consumer tech. We've been talking about the government and the implementations and so on. Let's talk about consumer tech. Potentially the biggest consumer tech company in the world, the multi-trillion-dollar cap Apple. Well, they announced this past week they had their event. The world stopped to listen to this event. Always a highlight in the world of technology when Apple have their event. And at this event, They launched the new range of iPhones. They launched their new Apple AirPods Pro. They launched their new Apple Watch. And there's a lot to talk about from there. We'll summarize it here. And of course, we may do a deep dive on our social media platforms. But in summary, Apple launched the iPhone 17. The standard iPhone 17 is quite impressive this year. Many of the tech reviewers have been impressed by it as well. The iPhone 17 seems to be taking a lot of the tech from the iPhone 16 Pro and integrating it into the standard iPhone. The iPhone 17 Pro was also launched with a lot of Pro features that were included in the phone. Something interesting to note is that all the phones now have what they call ProMotion. In other words, it's higher refresh rates. So when you're using it, it feels smoother. It's got a refresh rate of up to 120 hertz. They call it an adaptive 120 hertz. Obviously, improved camera. It's now a 48 megapixel camera. They also launched a new device in the lineup. It's called the iPhone Air. Not the iPhone 17 Air, the iPhone Air, an ultra-thin device that blew a lot of people away. If you look at it in pictures, it might be like, it looks thin, but what's the point? But many reviewers who actually held it and felt it were like, yo, whoa. So it's been very interesting to see the response to the launch of this brand new iPhone Air. This comes a couple of months after Samsung launched their also ultra-thin device, the Samsung S25 Edge. So it's very interesting to see that a lot of ultra-thin phones are being launched. Some people say this is potentially a precursor to Apple's own foldable phone, but they haven't said anything officially about that. Something interesting worth noting about the iPhone Air, it uses the A19 Pro chip, which means in the iPhone Air, you should be able to have access to the Pro features. But of course, the most expensive of the phones will be the iPhone 17 Pro. They also launched new AirPods, which apparently a big improvement. They also launched a new Apple Watch, which is also a big improvement. The big question I think that really affects us here in Zimbabwe is the concept of pricing. Now, when Apple launched, they launched it with their prices, and everyone in Zimbabwe already immediately knew, no, that's a price for America. We don't know yet what the official prices will be from the distributors here in Zimbabwe. I checked just before we launched if they had made any announcements, and none of them had. We expect that soon they will also be making their own pre-order announcements. So for now, what we have is the gray market, or in other words, unofficial importing, which we do not endorse on this show. Judging from last year's prices, we're looking for the Pro Max models in excess of $2,000, which is almost double what the launch price was from Apple themselves. So that is pretty prohibitive. I don't know what the solution there is. I think we are hoping to get an official presence from Apple in the country, and not just a distributor presence. But we'll be announcing what the official prices are when we get the information on that. So that's the story there on the Apple launch. Now, at the beginning of this show, I hinted at the concept of a scam. And I think we're going to end the show today with a dire warning. It's a little bit different, and it has to do with a new type of scam that is on the rise, and it is incredibly sophisticated, and it uses AI technology. The AI technology that we've been praising on this show is being used by nefarious bad actors to perform some of these scams. So here's the concept. Scammers find a short audio clip of your voice or your loved one's voice, and they're able to use that short audio clip to clone your voice. And then once they take that clone, they're able to create an almost perfect clone of your voice, and then use that to call a family member or a parent, grandparent, child, sibling. Or in some cases, and some more advanced versions of this scam, they're using the cloned voice of an executive in the company, for example, the CFO or the CEO, and they're then using that to phone perhaps an accountant to effect a payment. There have been several documented cases of this scam being employed. The technology used is very often generative AI-based models. So they use tools like 11 Labs or several other ones, and a lot of these tools are commercially available. Some of them even offer free tier options. So it's incredibly easy to create a clone of someone's voice, to make a phone call, and then pretend to be someone that you're not. Look, I thought I would test it out. I decided to create some clones of voices. I want to make it very clear that these are cloned voices. But if you think that it's something that you wouldn't fall for, you think that you would be able to tell, I'm going to play a clip of, let me start off with, just to show you how shockingly good this technology is. Listen to this audio and let me know if you think that I actually phoned Holy 10 to record an endorsement, or rather to record this particular clip or not. Take a listen.
Hi, this is Holy 10. I need you to call me as soon as possible. You already know who it is, sir.
Was that Holy 10? I can tell you it was not. That was a clone of his voice. I just took a short clip of one of his publicly available videos and I created this clone to demonstrate for you how this works. Okay, let me take it a little bit further. Do you think that I can get Winky D to create an official endorsement of this show? Take a listen.
All right, this is Winky D. Make sure you subscribe to Danny That Guy on ZiFM Stereo and believe everything he tells you.
Just like that, very easy, an official endorsement by the real Winky D. Or not. No, once again, that was an AI voice clone based on a short interview clip that I found publicly available on the internet. Let me take it all the way to America. Can I get potentially the most recognizable voice in the world to officially endorse this show? Take a listen.
How are you all doing in that country there in Zimbabwe? I hope you're all following Danny, that guy. This is Big Don, the one and only, saying, make Danny, that guy, great again. And what's your favorite GR Praises song?
Now, did I, Danny That Guy, right here on ZiFM Stereo, phone the White House to get this call? Or is it an easily accessible AI voice clone? Now, obviously, I use these easily identifiable voices from public videos to create these voice clones. It's very scary hours at this point. This is a real scam that is currently being done, and it's important that you should be aware of it. It's chilling, it's scary, but there are some ways that you can protect yourself. Now, maybe you heard that. You thought it was funny, interesting. Maybe you thought it was some kind of novelty. Oh, wow, look at that. But imagine your parents or you yourself receiving a voice note or a call from a number you don't know. Say it's your mom. Number you don't recognize, but it's your mom calling and saying, listen, I've come across some emergencies. I need you to send money right now. Are you going to send that money? Or maybe it's a call from your brother or sister telling you I've been arrested, send $500. And it's their voice. You literally heard their voice on the phone. Are you likely to send that money? Well, here's some tips on how you can protect your family, protect yourself. There's 3 tips that I'm going to share with you. Number 1 is a safe word. So have a secret word or a code or a safe word that exists among your close friends and family. And then you all agree that, hey guys, this is the safe word. So whenever you receive such a call, you can simply just ask for that code or that safe word. Or if that's a little bit too difficult, whenever you receive such a call, take a moment to ask something personal. That's it. Just always be skeptical and just say, quick question. Then you ask a personal question that only they would have the answer for, because any scammer would not have that answer, correct? The final one, and this is the simplest one. If ever you receive such a call, hang up, phone the number that you know belongs to the person that phoned you. In fact, I would recommend not calling back that number that called you in the first place. So please have this conversation with your loved ones. Put it in the family group. Have people aware that this scam is circulating and they shouldn't immediately just trust their ears, because technology is getting scary good. And some people are using these AI tools to clone voices that sound almost imperceptible. You won't be able to tell that this is not the person that I know who's phoning. And these days, all of us have a presence on social media. So your voice is somewhere probably. So be very careful about phone calls or voice notes that you receive that seem to be asking for money. Okay, that's all the time we have for this week. The Africa Tech Kin once again bringing you news about technology here in Zimbabwe and the world. I think we had a great conversation about the idea of connectivity in some of the more remote areas of the country and the work that POTRAZ and the ministry are doing, and how there's so much room for more work to be done to try and connect as many people in some of the most underserved places in the country as possible. We spoke about new talent that hit the streets, new people that are sending out CVs this week. Do they have the skills that are needed? Are there opportunities for them? Great conversation I think we had there. We spoke about what our neighbors are doing, and we even revealed some of the scams that are existing because of AI. Well, we want you to join the conversation. If this show interested you, or if you have some thoughts or questions, hashtag AfricaTechKin on any of the social media platforms that you want to use. Or you can hit us up on WhatsApp in the studio, 0772 168 045. Make sure you tune in next week. We're going to continue with taking a look at the various stories from around the world when it comes to technology. We're going to be paying attention to the trends and deconstructing what it means for you individually as a Zimbabwean or as a member of wherever you are in the world paying attention to this show. It's been a pleasure. My name is Danny That Guy. The hashtag, once again, Africa Tech Kin. Don't go anywhere because Current Affairs continues right here on ZiFM Stereo. By the way, this show is available on YouTube if you want to watch it. It's also available via podcasts. Just search for ZiFM Stereo on any podcast platform that you want to use. This particular one goes on the ZiFM Stereo Current Affairs. Hit subscribe, and then every week when this show and other current affairs shows come out, you can listen to it on demand. All right, stay tuned. More current affairs coming up next. But for now, this is the Africa Tech Kin with Danny That Guy signing out. Bye-bye.
Tune in next time for Africa Tech Kin on ZiFM Stereo, discussing all things tech.